Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Essential Messages. My name is Bobby, and I will be your guide for today. Today, I'm going to do some channeling, some channel messages from my team about the energies that's happening at the moment. See what we can bring through that can help us guide us through everything, because, oh my gosh, isn't everything happening? But my team did say this is going to be the year of truth. We were going to bring through some truth. We were also going to go through the fires. My team said that last year. So here we go. And obviously, we know there's a lot of truth being spat out in more in a mainstream, sort of a broader sense to awaken many. But the problem is when we get a lot of people all at the same time been hit with the same um, stories of truth, which maybe put in a conspiracy box before, and now they're not. Then, if it's a big lot of people, then we need those that have already gone through it to come forth as leaders now and guides and teach them how to navigate through that path, because it's confronting. They're showing me the eclipse, which is happening today, the moon coming through as the eclipse is like a shadow. The shadow self is now having to be confronted for the spark of the light to come out and understand who you are as an authentic self, as an authentic being. So whether you are one that's done the shadow work and now you're being asked to open yourself up to become a guide or a leader or somebody that's more prominent in a mainstream sort of a way, then that's going to be a little bit confronting as well, unless you have really learned to live completely in the moment, which a lot of us have. So it can be an easier transition for you. But the ones that are coming up at the moment that have just heard about all this horrible horror story. I mean, I heard about it like at the beginning 2000s. So 2006 and onwards, I started to learn about all that stuff that was really going on, and so now it's coming back up into more of a mainstream kind of a scenario. We're talking Epstein and stuff like that, then I'm not really as affected anymore, but I'm seeing how other people are, and I'm like, well, we have to be careful that they don't get hooked into these stories anymore. So this is what I want to discuss, and help others understand that we're here to create something new. We're not here to carry on the fight. We're not here to get hooked into their stories anymore. Hey, Jeannie. Hey, Annie and Linda. Good to see you, and Yannicka. So, yeah, there's quite a few messages that came through about this. I'm just feeling into whether to read them or just carry on tuning into these new vibrations. I think I just rather tune into the new vibrations at the moment. So we also have, welcome to my new house sit, by the way. I'm in a farm and I'm looking after a horse. You might see a horse behind me. No, she's not there at the moment. And a dog. So yeah, welcome to my new abode. I absolutely freaking love it. It's really fun. Any case, let's get into the energies that are present right today. They're saying what a fantastic day today is. We have literally East meeting West. We're literally having logic meeting intuition, outer meeting the inner. This is a moment of consciousness reinventing itself, is what they're saying. Because we have in the East, we have the beginning and the celebrations of the fire horse, and in the West, we have the Mardi Gras. And they're showing me the West being more into the logical mainstream, USA kind of a scenario, Mardi Gras and all that sort of stuff. But, more of it's not USA, Anyway, I don't even know where it's from, but it's kind of like they're showing me that logical mind is pushing the limits, and that's what Mardi Gras does. It pushes the limits, and then they're showing me that fire horse, where it's more to do with the intuitive side. and our feminine side has been asked to charge ahead and get that power behind you, because you need to now take a seat next to, like completely next to that logical thinking, and be as equal Stevens, even though it's completely opposite of what we have been working with in the logical realm. So that's happening at the moment, as well as the solar flare hitting all at the same time. And this is thus showing me that the dream that I had on the wall with the fish, turning into the yin yang symbol balance, and then the source energy symbol of going into that. They're showing me that again, and the understanding that we are coming into a balance here finally. And this is where we find peace, because when we love each side of ourselves, we're not repressing anything, then we find peace. But with that, those that are really out of balance, the energies are going to affect them completely different. So then they come into this fight, and like a hook. Now, I will bring up what they were bringing up about. They said to bring in a new. Ooh, hang on, let me just get into this. Sorry, wondering if it had, because I wrote down a whole heap of stuff. Um, I really do want to feel into, though. No, it's not come up. That's all right. I'll just leave it at that. But to bring in this new vibration that we really want to get into, while we've got the story, the shadow story, that's like covering over a lot more of humanity, like it's going, it's like wildfire going out there, that story. You know what I'm talking about, I'm sure. I don't want to mention too much because I don't want this taken down. And when you mention certain words, it's like a trigger, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, the reason why they sent that out now is because everything that the so-called powers in charge have been trying to do, which is usually creating an illusional story, getting you to feel like a victim or guilty about it, and then they hook you in with the story, telling you it's all your fault, even if they're the ones that created the story in the first place, and then they send it out as a problem. And humanity's been aware of this now. We're starting to awaken our inner thoughts to the wisdom that we are aware enough of the sort of narcissism behavior that they've been pulling over us. And because of that, they have now opened up this whole other kettle of fish, kind of, so to speak. But at the same time as that truth coming out, and what humanity or the mainstream does with that is going to be really important, because if they hook in with the whole I have to fight this, I have to, um then it's still a hook. I feel terrible that I didn't know about it. It's still a hook. Anything to do with that is their hooks, and what it does is give you end up with a lot of attention going in on that, and that's what they're wanting, because they just want the attention. They don't care how the story rolls. That so long as you have your attention on them, then they can, and you are coming at it from a depleted energy, or a feeling of lack, or a feeling of anger even, then it can hook you into their story, and then they have the attention on that story, and then they can fuel it even more. And you'll go, how do they get away with it? Well, they get away with it because you're still fueling their story. But this is not a time to fuel their story anymore. This is a time to literally walk away. They do bring me quite often to, when this sort of energy comes up, a movie called Merlin, where Merlin was kind of in fear, or they're playing the game with the evil queen. And when she was, I've forgotten her name, but when she was standing before him, with all of this story of, I'm going to get you here, there, and everywhere, I'm going to attack you this way and that way. He just turned around and said, I still have a card to play. And that card to play was to walk away, because as soon as he walks away from the story, they have nobody to fuel it. You've been fueling it with your imagination. But if you take your imagination away from that story and you fuel your imagination with what you want to create, then it like depletes more energy from their story. It's like a neuron path in your brain. There is a negative neuron path. And remember, my team taught me how to put a sunflower, a default image in my head every time I thought of something that I didn't even know was really going to happen. But my monkey mind, my logical mind was hanging on to the story of, well, it happened in the past or whatever, and I'm fearful it's going to happen. That fear brings you into a victimized state, and then it ends up fueling the neuron path by repeating it over and over again, thinking that you can find a way out by repeating it, or fuel, but you're fueling it instead. We don't want to fuel their story. We want to change it up and shift into a whole brand new game here. And to do that means that they really have nothing. They have nobody to fuel their story. And so what happens to a neuron path when it's not fueled? It just dissolves, it disappears. It's not part of our reality anymore. So the more that you hook in, another thing that they're bringing up is a movie called What Dreams May Come with, oh gosh, I've forgotten his name, but he's passed over now. It will come to me. He's a comedian usually, and he was in Mork and Mindy. It was Mork and Mindy. Anyway, I know that much. But in any case, someone will tell me his name in the chat bar. And well, what happened in that Dreams May Come movie, if you want to watch it, it's a really good movie, by the way. The energies was that the man who had passed over. His wife had already passed over, and she passed over as a suicide. Don't want to give you all of the everything that happened, but it is a really awesome movie. He ends up trying to find her, and how he tries to find her is to fight for her. So when he's trying to fight for something, he ends up at the gates of hell, and then he has to walk through the gates of hell, and he's like looking around, and everyone's coming at him, and they're all going to fight him, and he's like, I have to fight this. I have to fight this. And then otherwise I'm never going to find her. And then finally he gets to the point in his head where he's like, oh, I don't need to. This is on the other side, by the way. They both die. But when he's over there, he starts to realize he's not going to find her there. He's just not going to find the love of his life in a war zone. You're not going to find peace, and you're not going to find love in a war zone. That's why they hook you in. That's why they spew out all that information, because they're like, well, this will get them. We'll tell them what they've really been doing behind the shadows, and we'll tell them the worst stories that they can ever have. I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I absolutely believe that it did, but it's not something that I want to give my full attention to. I'm just going to see it as the tornado that's behind me, but I get my head out of the sand so that I can move away from that tornado. You need to move away from the story. Otherwise, you'll get hooked back in, and you'll be in the gates of hell, and it'll all start up again, and they'll be fueled, and they'll have the fuel to keep the story rolling, because what is it? They know they need your imagination. They know they need you to have a fixation on the story so that you can imagine their story into life, because that's the power of the imagination. It's the power of the feminine side that we've been repressing. So what we need to do is bring back our power of our feminine side and use it for the benefit of where we want to go. And where do we want to go? We want to have peace. We want to have a beautiful landscape like I have behind me. We want to live freely with earth. These are the things we need to give our attention to. How can we create this with other team members? How can we find people that we can trust with our beautiful story of creation that we want to create next? That's where we want to go. And it's going to make a big change. But at this moment, a big lot of humanity, and they always did show me, if you've been following me, I've always seen it as a wave, and there's like more and more and more people coming into this wave of the experience of going through the shadow work. So these people are now going through the shadow work. So it's great for us to hold our imagination into where we really want to go and keep on bringing them back to let go of the story, let go of fueling their story. We don't want to fuel it anymore. What dreams may come? Yes, Robin Williams. Thank you, guys. I knew you guys would come up for me. Okay. So that being said, that needs to be said at this moment and probably needs to be repeated and throughout the year, because the fire horse is going to bring up a lot of this um, feminine fire energy, and we need to realize that we are imagining, we have the power to imagine a new story here. So if I do bring it up again, it's just so that those that are hopefully newly watching are going to understand. Um, so there's that. But then there's also the quest of the light worker, whatever you want to call it. I kind of hate labels, but the logical mind loves the labels. Um, Light worker, as in we work with the light. We don't hook into the old stories and the old patterns and all of that. Something about the quest of the light worker is being awoken now, or those that have a chosen path to guide others. We're all chosen because we're all source energy, as far as I'm concerned. But there are certain personas, energies that have put their hand up, so to speak, for, okay, I'll be one of the first ones, which you usually generally have quite a tough life where you have to sacrifice a lot of things, relationships and all that sort of stuff, to be able to move up into these higher understandings of yourself. And then when you are moved up into the higher understandings, you have a connection to your soul and frequencies beyond what others understand. And so can be a very lonely journey. I know that journey very, very well. Every time I thought I found the right person, I kept moving up, and they just didn't want to come up that far. So you have to go, you have to leave. It can't carry on. Otherwise I would be stuck in that energy, that lower energy that they're in, and then I won't be able to do the work. And the work will always come first in my head, in my soul. So you will know that of yourself, that the work will always come first with your soul. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that are starting to show themselves to the world, and the ones that are just in that graspy kind of energy of, I need to have followers, and that, well, that's a reflection of those in power now, so-called elite, whatever you want to call them, that have been throwing a whole heap of spanner in the works, of what that nasty stuff that they've been doing. That's the same reflection as that energy as well. And so with that falling, so too will those fall that are in the graspy kind of, I'm who I say I am, but you're not in here. You haven't really got a soul connection. You're just trying to find followers and that sort of stuff. That will start to fall. What else are they bringing? And so then you'll start to see the reason why it's falling is because many of us are actually lining ourselves up with our intuition, our empathy. We're feeling more, and that's when we know the truth and we feel the truth. And so it will be showing up like a big, red ball over there. It'll just be like in your face, like a flashy light or whatever. It'll be like, whoa, whoa, alarm, alarm, alarm. You can feel that that person is not who they say that they truly are inside. And they need to let go, because they need to face their shadow work to be able to do the true work, the real work. They could say they're spiritual to the cows come home, but it's not always necessary that they're spiritual, if they haven't done that inner work. Anyway, this is how you kind of find these people. They'll be more serene, more calm, even if turmoil is happening around their life. Um, just so that you can find those right people. I think my team's trying to help you find the right people, um, as well. And if you feel that you are one of them, that you have been asked to step into your quest, and you'll know that quest very well because it will be an underlining current that's always in your mind of who you are. Like, I'm a prophesier, I'm a messenger, and that's always been who I am, because whenever I've written my poetry many, many years ago, before I knew all this, and written my songs, I always had a message in my songs and my poetry. I couldn't just write something for the heck of writing it. Had to have some profound sort of a twist or a message in it for humanity. So it was just a given that that's who I am. And I remember when I was 2 years old, I know I was two because it was in another house, literally having one of my first epiphany messages coming into my channel brain. And I remember knowing that we are creating our own reality, or we are creators. We can imagine a new reality. I knew that back then. So it's something that, whatever your quest is, you probably have this underlining, even if you've wavered away from it and come back, you've had this underlining current that's been still in your reality until now. And doing the shadow work and all of that, you're probably even more understanding it, just as I am. But it's like a ramp up. They're showing me a ramp up, and then they're showing me the ramp going into a spaceship. Like, it's a ramp up into something completely unknown. Um, and if you're a male, if you're a masculine, if you're a male energy, it's going to be even a little bit more frightening, because males like to have that stability here implanted on Earth. That's what their energy is all about. So for the unknown to be expressing itself, it's not going to be the easy. There's going to be a little bit of a, very a feeling of vulnerability is what I would call it, as they walk that ramp into their quest, because they're grounders, but then they're walking into an unknown place where, if you're more feminine, it's kind of like, well, we go into unknown places and come out with our imagination a lot more. So, but it's still something that needs to be grounded. So we need the masculine on our side to ground it. And we both have to walk. They show me hand in hand together within our brains. If you're on your own, it's your logical and your intuition walking hand in hand together, into this quest that you are going to move into a whole other feeling-based reality. And it's going to take more and more and more of your attention, they said, which is fantastic, because when that's taking more and more of your attention, in other words, things are going to start to be more aware, or ground more within our gifts, telepathy, telekinesis, all that sort of stuff, a connection to the past, over the dead, elemental connections, connections to understanding source energy more, the universe, somatic patterns. They're gonna. It's all depending on your mission and where you're going and what you're actually part of grounding in this world. I know mine is community. I want to ground a beautiful community in this world. When you go hand in hand with the logical and the intuitive, or if you're a feminine and you found a masculine partner and you go hand in hand towards this together into the unknown, at least you have the backing of that side of yourself. Whenever it gets a little bit vulnerable for whatever side is feeling vulnerable, they're showing me that too. Then they're showing me it joining with more and more and more of us. They're showing me a circle of people coming together. So this is how we, and then we literally ground what we really are looking for. And it can be very simplistic, working with the earth, or it could be, well, I actually know the pattern, or the geometrical understanding, or pattern, or somatic understanding, or vibrational meet with the tool that I've created to make a device to make it easier for everyone to stay in a peaceful mind, or whatever it is that your gifts are. There's all sorts of gifts that are going to be shown to us, and it is an expansion. where we were actually in a limited little box. That's why they showed me those fish in that dream on a wall, just one wall. We were in a very limited box, and we thought the only way to get excitement was to watch horror movies and all that sort of stuff, whatever got your be going, or buy up a lot of shopping and that sort of stuff, whatever gave you that endorphin kind of a kick, adrenaline kick or whatever, because you were on this flat, very limited wall, creating a reality that was fixed by those that were in power at that moment. That's why they showed the school system knocking your imagination out as quickly as possible. They said three guys created the schooling system back 100 years ago. I literally wrote, I was drawn to this write up. I cannot find it. I wish I could find it, but they've taken it off. But it was a write up that they did over 100 years ago of knocking the imagination out of human psyche by the age of 12, because they knew that we would imagine them out of our existence. And this is what we have to do, is imagine them out of our existence, start to focus on what we really love. They also brought in with the school system, this one of the messages I got as I was awakening today, this morning, they got a, sorry, they told us to compete with each other. And in competition, we are always going to be a victim, because there's only one winner in that moment. And even that person that is a winner in that moment will not win everything. So we're always feeling into this victimized state, this feeling of never being good enough. And it stops us from collaborating and working together, stops us from seeing the value of each other, because we start with a judgment, and we start with the "you're not good enough" and that sort of stuff, and "you should be fitting into my box," and that sort of thing. But that's what competition does in the school systems. And people say, well, there's healthy competitions. Well, only if you're in a if you already have a balanced mind to begin with, and it's more of the game that you're playing as the fun thing, rather than the who won and the who didn't. Or appraisal for that moment, knowing full well that they're not going to win everything. We get fixed in this kind of a icky heart feeling they're showing me, through competing with each other in all facets of life, and it's not conducive to collaborating and creating. um, yeah, because they bring in competitions with art, they bring in with racing, who's the fastest, who's the strongest, who's the best at academy, who's the best and someone's always gonna feel, "I should have done better. I wish I was an A student all the time. Oh my god, I got a B." Well, straight away, you're in a victim feeling, and they want that. They want us to feel victimized, because when you're a victim, you're already saying something outside of you is more powerful, and that's when they hook you in with feeling that way, and they create the story, the illusion of you being less than. But that through the eyes of source energy, you are equal. You are equal. Everyone is equal. Every energy out there is just energy going on a beautiful journey, and source energy is the same everywhere. So when I actually connected with source energy, when I was in that state, because I wanted to feel what oneness is feel like. When I was in that state of awareness, I realized we were all gods. And then I'm like, well, then we're all not. And then I'm like, well, that means we're all equal. I could feel it. But then I knew from my essence of myself, I was creating everything that was around me as well. So everybody was creating everything around them. And we join together at the places where we are starting to create. So this is where the communities start to come together, and we magnetize ourselves more and more together, because we have the same imprint in our brains. And they're separating it up now in not tribes, as in soul path journeys that we've gone on. So, say for instance, I'll probably be magnetizing in more people from Pleiades and that sort of thing, because we have this similar vibration that wants to create similar things or ground similar things here on earth through the love of the heart, because that's what we're all about over there. If you are more into the Arcturian, you probably have a different feeling or whatever. They're also showing me people that were they're showing me a planet that is out there on its own, and they're showing me people that are like a bridge for all sorts of things to come in, and they can experience. So they tie us all together, and they like to experience all sorts of different things. Not to say that a Pleiadian can't go into a community of say Arcturians or whatever that they've grounded. We can all help each other. We might even feel that it's just been a soul journey that we've taken together. Because I know I have Arcturian friends in as a soul group, but that's because they kind of loved what we were all creating, and so we merged together. So I don't want to say it's just specifically all Pleiadians or anything like that, because we've got something each to give for each other for the communities that we are building. But and the elven world as well, they're bringing up that too. But this is the problem, though, when I'm channeling, it comes in so quickly, and like that, I know the information, but then I've got to hang on. Let me catch up to you guys. Yeah, so the communities will be conducive. Let's put it this way. I'm just going to simplify this. They'll be conducive for all the different experiences and energies that you want to live or you want to experience here on Earth. Imagine being a little child that is like, oh my God, look at this world. This world is like a massive, cool, awesome playground. I'm so excited to play in it. How does that feel for you? What would you love to try out first? And go for it, because that's what's going to gravitate the other people in. I know I've met a couple of my Soul Tribe members recently, and it's very exciting because when you meet, there's no judgment, there's no anything, there's just pure allowance, and we're all helping each other. And it's so beautiful, really is beautiful. Anyways, hey Sky, good to see you in the chat bar as well. And Wade, good to see you. He always calls me Ambassador Bobby. I think we're all ambassadors in our own right, but okay, thank you. Um, so we have these energies that are coming at the moment for us to find our quest, move towards our quest, in whatever way that is for you. Don't give too much attention to that. If your job is to awaken others, just be aware that someone who is awakening others to say the negative stuff that's going on out there. Um, if you're in anxiety, fear, victimization, any of those feelings, stop, take a deep breath, and then say to yourself, if I to do this, I have to do this from love. If I do this, if I'm going to share these posts out or whatever it is to get everybody else to understand, come from love. Don't come from an icky feeling. If you're an icky feeling, you're fueling it. You don't want to be fueling it. And if you're a light worker fueling it, they've hooked you in. That's one less that we have, right? To create this new reality. So just be aware of that as you move along. I'm not saying don't post anything or whatever you do. You do what you feel in that moment, but you need to be able to let it go as soon as you've written it. You don't want to be in their energy. I only have felt that once, and it was this morning. And I'm like, oh, they've hooked me in. I remember that feeling, wow, that icky, oh my God, they're really doing that to people, kind of. And I knew it anyway, because I've been told it many years ago. I think I actually found out about this around 2012, something like that. But I was already being led up to it anyway, 2006 till then, by the information that the elder was giving me. And she was talking about the energies that were in charge and who they were tied into. She gave me a lot of information about that way back then. And then I didn't want to believe her first up. So I asked for the story to come back to me twice in another way, and it still kept coming back. So I'm like, okay, I've got to listen to this story, because I just emptied my cup and went, I don't know what the truth is. That's the best way to approach this. If you're at the stage in your life at the moment where you're like, I'm getting confused, I don't know what the truth is, empty your cup. In other words, don't see anything as the truth and ask for the truth to come for you. And 3 different ways is the best. I don't need it anymore because I know the feeling of the truth. But 3 different ways is a really good way to start off with. And you could read it in a book somewhere over there. Someone, tomorrow could tell you in a totally different in a cafe or something like that. All sorts of ways that it can come to you. So that's how you find the truth. That's how I found the truth anyway. And, man, it's been 100% spot on. Every single conspiracy that I tried to tell people about many, many years ago, been shut down, shut down. And in the end, I just kind of gave up which was good because it gave me energy to focus on creating what I really wanted to create. And, it's all come true now. It's all out there in the open, let's put it that way. And it is the truth. I can 100% tell you that. So that's really cool. Now, what else is wanting to be brought forward for this energy at the moment? The bringing up Chinese New Year. This is going to be a big one because many, many years ago, the Chinese used to kill off the female babies that were born in the year of the fire horse, but now obviously they don't. So this is where we can find the balance because it was meant to be. Humanity was driven into a masculine era, looking at only outside of yourself era for everything, and disconnection from that feminine power. So now it feels like the power of the fire horse is going to fire up, let's put it that way, the feminine side of ourselves and everything that comes with. And this is where we've got to direct. We have to know how to control our mind to direct our imagination towards what we want to create. And if you feel like you can't because of all the stories and that coming at you, that's where I would personally put in the default image. Just think of a sunflower. I use a sunflower. You can use whatever you like. Crystal car, I don't really care, as long as it's something that you feel neutral with. And use that. Just keep on putting in that default image because that's training your brain not to fixate on the monkey mind, which is it's a logical uprising that hasn't learned how to use it. Doesn't know that the imagination holds the power to shift the story. So what it does is it grabs from the past and only projects into the future. And any new information that's coming its way, if it's awful new information, it will really twist it into everything that you've felt in that negative way again to bring it all up again. So we don't want that happening anymore. We want that to say shush. And the best way to say shush is to put in the default image, the sunflower, whatever it is, because you can't focus on 2 things. The logical mind can't focus on 2 things at the same time. And then when that you get good at doing that, then you're going to bring in your imagination and use that. Like I literally just did a big talk last night and night before last. And well, it wasn't a big talk. It was only about 20-minute talk, and explain this to the people in the building. And yeah, it's very vital at the moment for you to know how to control your mind for this next phase. And then you teach others how to control their mind because when you've got control of your mind, you can create or you can ask to ground what you want to ground into your reality. And that means all your outside attention, your logical mind starts to focus in on bits and scenarios of what it wants to have. Like it will start to see the things that you actually want light up instead of seeing the negative story light up outside of you. You're seeing these things. Oh my God, that's really cool, where you wouldn't have seen it before. They're bringing me to a guy that was they were doing an experiment with a video film crew, and the video film crew wanted to see if this would work, that the focus of somebody could change them up to become abundant. And he was somebody who was constantly saying to himself that he's poor all the time. And they asked him if they could follow him with the camera. And then when they did, they also slipped $50 notes really close to him on the seat next to him, like that close. Like he just needed to look that way to see a $50 note. He didn't see any of the $50 notes that they planted around him, not one of them for the whole day, because his attention is, I'm poor, I'm poor. And it doesn't matter if it's right next to him, he will not see it. So his reality is, I'm poor. And so reality mirrors that back to you. And so your attention, your focus is only on the life being poor. And this is where we need to start to imagine ourselves or feel into what it's like to have these communities, to have these abundant, beautiful, heart-based, peaceful mind, coming together, celebrating around a fire, going back and having our own piece of time, our own time that we need to have to reboot or whatever, and then coming back and nobody's like, where were you? It's nothing like that. It's just like collective pulse. They're showing me a pulse of community coming together at the right time for the right people, because our minds are now focused on using our imagination for the benefit of humanity, to focus on the community that we really want to bring in. And we're not worried about whether someone's away from us or next to us or whatever. We're no judgments on people and their decisions that they make. We're no longer trying to get them to fill a part of our lack. We've already fueled it for ourselves. We love who we are. I've fueled just about everything for myself now. I absolutely love. I love being alone. I love being with company. I love it all. And I used to really yearn for a male companion all the time, because when I was really little, I knew I was going to meet someone, and that yearning sent them away further, because the yearning means you're in a victimized state, you're in a victimized feeling. And so, just like the man who thought of himself as poor, and the $50 could be right next to him, I wouldn't have even seen it. I would have chosen the wrong man every single time, and I did. Um, so this is how this worked. Now I've let go. I've just let go of the whole lot, and I'm just trusting. I don't know. I'm just enjoying, really. I'm not even trusting. I'm just enjoying myself at the moment. And look where I'm at a beautiful farm. Very cool. Okay. See what else comes up. Oh my gosh. Um, Yeah, so they're bringing back the Mardi Gras that's happening over in the West as well, and the celebrations happening over there. So we do need to celebrate the fact that the logical mind is expanding into trusting the imagination now. That's the vibe I'm getting from that. Letting it itself explore new territories through the imagination, which is connected to source energy, soul, the oneness of all. And it's going to that's going to allow the story to shift up, but also be grounded in this reality with no judgment on that. Well, before, when the masculine was in charge, uh, the masculine wasn't taking any notice of that feminine imagination. And so the only way, because it wasn't connected to its soul, and it was disconnected from the soul, the imagination, the intuition, the feeling base. It was disconnected, and wanted someone to lead it or guide it, but that's what would have been guiding it. And because it was disconnected from it, the only way for a human that is disconnected from themselves like that is to seek leadership or guidance outside themselves. And this is what pulled in the unbalanced leadership, because we were imbalanced, looking for leadership, guidance. The only guidance you'll find just outside of yourself, not listening to your balanced mind of your intuition, your feeling. would be an unbalanced leadership. So this is why it's really important for us to get that yin yang, that beautiful love, logical loving, the imagination. It doesn't have to understand it completely, but it can love it. And the imagination loving the groundingness of the logical mind, because when it decides that it's going to do something, it will ground it for us to experience. But we want to ground the most beautiful thing, right? We don't want to ground the crappy stuff that they're pulling over us. Um, yeah. So the more humans that find this balance within themselves and don't give information to or energy, sorry, or focus to the logical mind and the negative Nelly stories, the more that we are going to shift our reality completely. They're all going to fall. The neuron paths are going to dissolve. The leadership is going to dissolve. The governments and all that sort of stuff will dissolve. This is why my team, the Cyanians, came to me around like I think it was, I can't remember the exact year, but it was about 210, 211, I don't know, somewhere around then, and told me that the governments were going to fall. Um, that's why they said that, and that the seekers would be appointed. They actually said you will appoint the seekers, but I didn't want to use it as an ego term, so I just kind of tell everybody the seekers will be appointed, and it doesn't matter who Brahman appoints them. There's, I know that the seekers are to do with truth seekers, those that are to do with holding vibrations. They can literally connect even if they're on the other side of the world from each other, and they can focus in on a certain part of the earth that can needs healing or anything like that. There's a vibration that they're healing. It's like a grid that they're forming around that is dismantling the old program that was out of balance. Anyways, we'll just leave that at that at this moment. Whew. Is there anything else that wants to come through at this moment in time for humanity? Well, we're definitely going to see a lot more craft in the sky, a lot more UFOs, a lot more connection, a lot more connection to the elementals and that sort of stuff coming up as well. And I'll probably end up doing more talks about that. But I think that's about it for today. 9:47 is pretty good going. 3/4 of an hour channeling for you guys. Um, yeah, if there's any questions, though, I'm quite happy to ask. Asking Spirit from Jeannie. Asking Spirit to communicate guidance 3 times. A simple example would be if I'm feeling like I want to reach out to someone and I'm not sure why. If they come into my awareness 3 times, I know. Yeah, that's another good one to do. Yeah. I trust. I remember getting a message, a strong message from somebody who just passed over. Um, and I knew the person that they wanted to give the message to, but I wasn't I wasn't friends. I just knew them. They were friendly, but it wasn't someone that I knew. And I decided to leave it. And then I went, look, if it's supposed to be, then they will come into my life for me to give them that message. And I went to Crystal, uh, this like a festival that was around this area actually, and Crystal Waters, and they have like these small festivals and stuff and gatherings and that, and people put out their picnic blanket and sit down under the trees, and then it goes on till the nighttime and the band comes and that sort of stuff. But I plonked my blanket down next, and then somebody else plonked their blanket right nearly on top of my blanket, and then this little pram and stuff, and I'm like, oh, whatever, it's good. Well, maybe I'll check, and it was that person. It was that person that I was supposed to give that message to. So of course I gave her that message. Anyways, that's how it works. When you let it go, you're not in your logical mind trying to make things happen, right? And you trusting the vibrational frequency. Letting go means you've already trusted it. Letting go says to the universe, there is no resistance, I trust it. Same with if you want to create wealth in your reality and that sort of stuff. Letting it go means you've already put it into into your mix for it to happen. And then that's when it starts to happen, because you have no resistance towards it, and the universe knows with clarity what you want, rather than I'm pushing it for it to happen. And when you push for something to happen, it pushes back automatically. And so you don't end up getting what you're actually looking for. Yeah. Linda, that thank you. That answered my question with your channeling. Isn't that awesome how that happens? I love that. That's so cool. Love that. Um, See you, Wade. And I think I might even go live tomorrow. It's such a pretty place, and I really have nothing much to do here, because I can't Uber Eats around this area. So I might even go live tomorrow, and you'll just see. I'm going to play it by ear, but yeah, I have. This is like one of those homestays where I'm free to do whatever I want, and I've already got the next telepathic game sorted out for the next Amacal lessons as well. So, and that's we're going to open up what's in the letter. What's in the letter? Anyways, if you want to go join that too, yeah, we'll see what happens anyway. Maybe something else will come up. But I'm going to sit out under the stars as well. I might video a bit of, if my phone picks it up. I really should get a good camera and just, yeah. Anyways, I'll see what happens. And yeah, if something shows up, I'll take my phone out with me and see if it picks anything up out there. But we've been really cloudy and drizzly up here um, since I've been here. Yeah, I only arrived yesterday. Okay, guys, until next time. Ciao. Bye.